In the small, unremarkable town of Ashford, Ohio, tragedy arrived not with a scream, but with silence. October 14th, 8:17 a.m. A neighbor dialed 911 after hearing a single muffled pop from the Hensley residence, a sound that could have been a car backfiring, or something far worse. Officers arrived within 7 minutes. The front door was locked, no signs of forced entry. After receiving no response, they used a battering ram. Inside, the house was pristine, dishes drying by the sink, mail stacked neatly on the counter. Upstairs, in the master bedroom, they found 42-year-old David Hensley. He was slumped against the headboard, a .38 revolver loosely gripped in his right hand, a single contact wound to his right temple. On the nightstand, a handwritten note. The note, penned on a page torn from a notepad, read, "I'm sorry for all the pain. I can't carry it anymore. Please forgive me." Grief counselors would later call it a textbook farewell. The wife, Laura Hensley, was notified at her workplace. She collapsed in the HR office, sobbing that David had been battling depression for months. The case number 1414A, was stamped apparent suicide by the responding sergeant. It was tragic, but it was clean. Except for one thing. Detective Alan Markham arrived an hour into the scene processing. Markham was a 20-year veteran with the Ashford PD, a man who trusted his gut more than his paperwork. He walked the room slowly. He noted the pill bottles on the dresser, prescribed to David, unopened. He noted the half-empty coffee mug on the windowsill, cold, but not stale. Then he knelt beside the bed and studied the victim's hands. David Hensley was left-handed. His watch was on his right wrist, his wedding ring on his left. Yet the revolver was in his right hand, and the powder residue pattern didn't match a self-inflicted grip. The note was also written in a deliberate, almost labored cursive, unlike the quick, jagged handwriting on the grocery list stuck to the fridge. Markham stood, let the silence settle. That's when he heard it. A faint, rhythmic beep, electronic, weak, every 4 seconds. The other officers had dismissed it as a smoke detector with a dying battery, but Markham traced it, not from the ceiling, but lower. He pressed his ear to the wall. Nothing. He lowered himself to the carpet. The beeping was coming from under the bed. He lifted the dust ruffle.
Beneath the box spring, a section of the hardwood floor was slightly raised. Not much, just enough for a finger hold. The beeping intensified. Markham called for gloves and a pry bar. With a quiet crack, the floorboard lifted, revealing a shallow compartment no bigger than a shoebox. Inside, nestled in foam padding, was a small digital audio recorder. A red light pulsed each dying beep. The device had been recording for 72 hours. Markham pressed stop, rewound, and hit play on the tiny speaker. What he heard turned a suicide into a murder in 30 seconds flat. The recording began with the mundane: footsteps, a toilet flushing, the distant hum of a television. Then, at 11:42 p.m. on October 13th, the bedroom door opened. 2 sets of footsteps. David Hensley's voice, groggy. "Laura? What's going on? Who is that?" A male voice, low and cold. "Stay down, David." A scuffle, a muffled cry. Laura's voice, sharp and unrecognizable. "Just do it, now." Then, a deafening bang, followed by a wet, gurgling silence. The recorder captured it all: the heavy breathing, the sound of a window being wiped clean, the scrape of the revolver being planted in a lifeless hand. Every word, every sound, preserved in the dark beneath the bed.
Back at the station, the homicide unit sat in stunned silence as the audio played through the conference room speakers. Laura Hensley was brought in for questioning. She arrived in a gray pantsuit, eyes red, clutching a tissue. She repeated her story. A troubled husband, a note, a final act of despair. Detective Markham didn't interrupt. He simply slid a photograph of the digital recorder across the metal table. Then he pressed play on a portable speaker. The color drained from Laura's face. The male voice on the tape was identified as Michael Trent, a co-worker of Laura's from a marketing firm 2 towns over. Cell tower records placed his phone at the Hensley residence at the time of the murder. A search of his apartment turned up a practice sheet of paper, covered in the same deliberate, labored cursive as the suicide note. He had been copying David's handwriting for weeks. The motive was as old as crime itself. An affair, a life insurance policy worth $450,000, and a shared fantasy of a new life together. They had planned every detail, from the locked door to the staged depression narrative, but they never thought to look under the bed. During the trial, prosecutors revealed that David Hensley had discovered the affair 6 weeks prior. Instead of confrontation, he had quietly installed the recorder beneath the floorboards, hoping to gather evidence for a divorce. He never knew it would become the instrument of his own justice. Laura Hensley and Michael Trent were convicted of first-degree murder. The judge called the crime a betrayal of the deepest intimacy, covered by a mask of grief. Both received life sentences without the possibility of parole. A tragedy, yes, but behind the closed doors of Ashford, the truth was never silent. It was simply waiting, beeping softly, for someone to finally look under the bed. David Hensley's case led to the implementation of mandatory secondary screening for all apparent suicides in Ashford County.